Hi everyone, this is Mike of the Open Minded Chronicles. It's been a while since I've posted a video. If you may recall, the last video that I actually recorded was about the movie The Fourth Kind that my wife and I went to see. And that video has spawned quite a few responses. This video is more or less a extension of the alien agenda. I have always had an interest in alien life, just like many other people the world over. I have seen things in the skies that I couldn't explain, and like many others, in the beginning, I wasn't necessarily a believer. And those who have seen most of my videos know that I am a Christian. But I am very open-minded. I don't believe that we are the only race that exists in this universe. I believe it would be very close-minded to believe that with all the solar systems that are in the universe, that we would be the only ones to exist. I think the biggest argument today is whether the U.S. government is going to offer UFO disclosure to the public. And when Obama was elected president, he promised an open government. And as we all know, this means that anything that happens within the government will be made public to the United States populace. And among that was the promise of, UFO disclosure. And John McCain, who was a running mate for the presidency a few years ago, approached Congress and urged them to have the government release any important documentation regarding the UFO agenda to the public, because he felt that the American people are ready to know the truth regarding this phenomenon. And the biggest thing right now is there's so much going on in the world, whether it be war, nations divided because of religious beliefs. There's quite a few people out there who seem to believe that an advanced extraterrestrial race will descend from the skies and somehow, fix the problems that we as a society have created. And personally, I don't necessarily believe that's going to happen. And I feel this way because even if an advanced race is visiting our planet, I don't necessarily believe they are here to help us. And I say that based on all the abduction stories that have been running rampant throughout the media, the internet, and even in books that have been published throughout the years. I mean, most of the abductees who've come forward claim that they've been brutalized, humiliated, and treated like slabs of meat. They're the race that seems to be the most impersonal, seems to be the Greys. Now, of course, if you do a search on YouTube, or even the internet, or even if you visit your local library, because books still exist despite the digital age, you can find books on the various so-called documented alien races. There are other races like the Pleiadians that are supposedly benevolent and here for mankind's sake. But to get back to my original point, based on what information is available, it seems like most of these alien races are not necessarily trying to help us, but they're more or less seem to be evaluating what we're doing. It's almost like they're keeping track of how violent we are. Let's face it, as a race, we are extremely violent. I mean, in the inner cities, we have people killing each other, robbing, raping, stealing. And let's not forget about the world at large. Let's not forget about the war in Iraq. Let's not even forget about the problems in our own country, America, with what's going on in Congress. all the people who are out of work, and the constant bickering between Republicans and Democrats. I know I'm not turning this into a political video, but we are in such disarray as a people. I don't believe that these beings necessarily care about what's happening. I think they're just more concerned about us somehow becoming so advanced that we take this seething ball of chaos and somehow planting it elsewhere in the cosmos. And I know that sounds corny, but when you give it some serious consideration, I mean, if you were an advanced intellectual race and you saw the human race and how it conducts itself on a daily basis, would you want it populating other planets when you consider how warlike we are, how selfish we are? We don't give a shit about anybody but ourselves. I mean, in most cases, we shoot first and ask questions later. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't malevolent extraterrestrials out there, because the reptoids, and there are quite a few other supposed alien races that are hell-bent on, supposedly, enslaving planets. But what I'm trying to convey to you is, don't necessarily believe that whatever is visiting this planet is a godsend. Based on what is known, most of the people who have encountered these beings were not treated properly or fairly. And does that really sound like a race that is here to save us? The darker inner recesses of our own doings? It just doesn't fit. And again, despite my beliefs as a Christian, I do not live a strict life. And I'm not going to sit here and tell people that it's wrong to believe that extraterrestrials are not angels, because I've been reading articles and even comments from people on blogs who feel that aliens or extraterrestrials are heavenly bodies, and they could possibly be. I don't know. I mean, personally, I've seen things, vehicles. I call them vehicles because they weren't planes, they weren't helicopters, they weren't anything that I was familiar with in my many years of life on this planet. And I've seen them during the day, and they were certainly not of this world. And, I had family and friends with me, so they witnessed the same thing. I don't necessarily believe that we're going to see anything based on alien disclosure anytime soon. And I say that based on the current state of our country. The American people are growing restless. And right now, because of our disdain for our government, I don't believe our government would necessarily, release a disclosure. They don't want us worshiping something other than them. The very idea of us knowing that there's an extraterrestrial race visiting this planet that could possibly, just say for a moment, is capable of saving us from this hell that we live every day. Do you think for a moment that they would give up the power of the people over to an extraterrestrial race? It would make the governments powerless. Why do you think they've spent so many years trying to cover it up? The governments know that they would lose their standing as a figurehead with the people of their nations if they were to tell their people that yes, there is something far more powerful than us that is visiting us on a daily basis. They are capable of healing diseases that our current medical technology is incapable of doing. And they are very godlike in their capabilities. I mean, what do you think that would do to us as a people? What do you think it would do to our perception? And what do you think it would do to our world governments? And what do you think it would do to our perception towards our governments? And how powerless do you think our governments would become? Who do you think we as a people would follow at that point if they allow the truth to leak out? Give that some thought. And that's why alien disclosure still has not come to fruition.